Hello, Christian. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sam, I can hear you.
I
Great
can
to
see
see
you
you.
too.
Can you see me?
Yeah,
Shall I turn the video off or let's play some music?
I can barely hear it.
Oh, I know what I did wrong. Okay. Hold on one second.
I got a big thing here that says Omara Leary.
Yeah.
What is that?
Hold on one second. What were you saying?
Ponzio.
Can you hear me, Sam?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
but I share screen. I'm doing that.
Oh, you don't have to. I just played a song. We should be live streaming on YouTube. I sent the link out to a couple of people, so that should be. It's working. Yeah.
So it's just you and me?
Frank Ponzio, O'Mara. I invited a bunch of people, so there should be plenty.
I just see their names.
Oh, you well, O'Mara doesn't have her screen on, and
Oh,
Frank. Oh, there's Frank Ponzio.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey,
hey, Frank.
Good to see you. I'll be
good to
here.
see
I can
you.
leave and then I'll come back, but I'm here right now. Good to see you
Okay,
both.
good, 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 good.
Today's the actual anniversary, Christian.
Yeah,
Today, 2 years ago, on March 10th, we played our last gig. That is correct. Yep, I know.
Was that at the Baha'i?
yeah.
Yep, it was at the Baha'i Center. And I was thinking about Mike a lot today, and I realized he was all about tradition. I remember, Christmas came around. He always, whenever there was an event to celebrate, it had always to be the same. It's like, so I'm like, oh, well, I did the right thing. We just adhere to the March 10th. I mean, to me, that was just a great gig
I'll be
too.
back in a minute.
Yeah, okay, sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah. How you doing, Frank?
I'm well. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah,
Get to
look
play
good.
with you this weekend.
Yeah, I know. It's Saturday.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, all well. Can't complain. Had some good gigs this week.
Oh, wow. You've been gigging, huh? You've been back
A little
to.
bit. Yeah, just a few. Nothing fancy. All little stuff. That seems to be what's out there right now. Little stuff.
Little stuff.
Little stuff. Yeah. Snacks.
Snacks.
How about you, Christian?
Hey, you're playing pretty good for snacks. I remember last time you played, you wouldn't stop soloing. You're just like all over that keyboard.
Hey, doing a duo gig in that setting, you might as well let it open.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of times where a vocalist tells me I have 8 bars, so
Yeah. You gotta get it all in there.
here's 8 bars, maybe 16. Knock yourself out.
You just tell her you were counting in one.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? Why
Well,
not?
Mike taught you well. When I see your fingers flying over the keyboard, I'm like, although he had this one thing, he had that weightless touch thing, his hands were like kind of like
The Oscar thing.
the Oscar thing.
That's from Oscar, yeah. That was the idea that the top of the key is the bottom of the key. You play to the top of the key, so you hit the rest of the note down by velocity as opposed to by weight. And so when you see Oscar play, it's just right on top of the key, like just light as can be, and it gives you this beautiful touch and sound. Plus, it makes every keyboard and every piano feel about the same because you never play into the action.
Yeah.
So Mike taught that, and he at one point he talked to me and he said, "Man, you're going to have to change that technique at some point." And I kept fighting it, and then one day I said, "Okay, I guess he's probably right."
Yeah.
And it took a long time, longer than I'd ever would have expected, but I think it's basically there.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But then, of course, you want to keep yourself from just moving your fingers around too, right? You gotta say something musical.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to you in the car about it. That was like, I was, after studying with Ron, there was something I had in mind, for the bass too, like a certain effortlessness. a lot of bass players, they're really grabbing the neck, and it's very physical, But
Yes, yes.
And you see piano players also using a lot of body weight and really hammering into the keyboard, but just getting a big sound, just by being relaxed and having a different kind of force. I had actually a couple of days ago, I had a moment. I've been thinking about it. We talk about it every time we play. But it's happening. It's just.
What was
like,
your moment? What was the moment? When you
was
say you
just
have
like-
a moment, that there's like so much open. That's like saying ever since the incident.
But I had this feeling where I got this really strong, clear, defined sound, and it felt effortless. My finger was kind of dropping on the fingerboard.
Well,
And
for bass and for piano and for trombone, for that matter, a lot of that has to do with pre-microphone and post-microphone.
Mm.
When I played, I was late for a rehearsal, and big band at the Union, and I ran in and I sat down and I'm playing and I hear this bass and I'm thinking, I wonder what kind of amplification he's using. And I turned around, it was Milt Hinton. There was no amplification.
Oh.
And later on, I looked at his I think his strings are this far away from the fingerboard, and his hands look like hams. That was a whole nother way of playing. And it's the same way. It's the same way with piano too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And
yeah.
trombone.
Yeah, I heard that. Well, I know Oscar's touch was fine, and then of course his idols. What's his name? Some pianists will play a full grand piano in a small room, but have it amplified so you can play just as light can be. So yeah, there's definitely something to that amplification thing, isn't there?
Oh yeah, I mean, before amplification, if you didn't hit it, nobody would hear it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But what's interesting is I think with a lot of technique, certainly the only technique I really know is piano. If you're hitting it lightly, you get a big, fuller, rounder sound. If you hit it harder, it's louder, but it's not a fuller, rounder sound.
Yeah.
There's like an inverse proportion between the effort and the sound that you get out sometimes. The quality of the sound.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're familiar with Bill Watrous' playing, Bill never played past pianissimo. Basically, he just used the mic, and he got this lovely sound that went into the mic, But if you listen to Jack Teagarden, who came up before the microphones were, he was putting some air through the horn, to say the least.
Yeah,
yeah. It's all changed. It's all changed from the electricity. I think a great deal of it.
Yeah, no, it's a bigger perspective. It's a good one to have to truly appreciate.
You almost have to learn how to play two ways. At least as a big band trombonist, I don't have, especially playing lead, I don't have a microphone, generally speaking.
Right.
And especially in Latin bands, they don't give any microphones to trombones. It's like you guys can play loud, and you got to learn to play that way. I had to learn to play that way because it wasn't natural to me. And then relearn how to play the other way for other things.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Hey, Bob.
There's Bob and there's Lance.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, what's up? Hey, guys.
Good to see everyone. Hi, Lance. Hi.
Lance.
All
Wow.
right.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Good. Hey, what's up, Sam?
Same stuff.
Together here.
I get up in the morning and practice.
Yeah. You stay on top of it.
That doesn't end.
Yeah.
And there's Bob. How you doing?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Excellent. Good to see everyone.
Hey, what's up, Bob?
Good to
Glad to
see you.
be here. Hi, Frank.
I was hoping you come because I remember you a year ago.
It was, I know.
We stopped kind of early, and Bob's like, no, don't stop. We just get going.
That was a nice turnout last year. Yes.
Yeah.
Where's our beloved Dottie? Is she going to show up?
No, she sends her love. She's working on the book.
Oh, okay.
She says March is tough for her still. So
Okay.
there's a lot going on in March,
Right.
Mike's birthday is on the 19th, right, Frank? Is it the 19th?
Something like that. Yeah, I know it's
18th, I
right
think the
around
19th, yeah.
it's right around the corner.
Yeah, and he passed on the 22nd, and the
Yeah,
10th we had our last big band gig, so it's all
Right.
kind of happened within 12 days, you know. So
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, she's
Wow.
fine. I kind of briefly texted with her today, and I guess she's finding some solace in just getting the book done and going through pictures and all that. And
yeah,
I think that's where she is right now, which makes
Yeah.
sense.
I imagine she does want to open some things.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
got to be a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
Yeah, there's a lot of material to go through, and of course, the biggest decision is the decisions like, how you're going to present it, what's the organizing principle behind the book, because there's a lot of angles that you can take to do something like that. So I think they've actually got that. Now they're actually filling it in, and there could be a first draft of it as early as the end of this month as possible.
wow.
Oh, great.
Yeah, but I think sometime in this calendar year there'll be a book.
Wow, great.
It's a big project.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Wow.
I don't know that many words. I know I couldn't do it.
You just repeat yourself.
I should say what?
You just repeat yourself.
That's right. Hey, you use those words many times. What the heck?
Just put them in different order, and there you got a book.
I had a student today. She was playing, and she really sounded good. She was just playing this little simple B flat blues. She was hanging really close to the obvious scale choices, and she goes, and it sounded really good, so logical, so musical. And she stopped and she felt bad. She goes, I just keep playing the same notes. And I go, that's what we all do. There's 12 of them. There's not, it's like, it makes me think of this writing. It's like, yeah, you're using the same words. No one told that to, whoever. It's very funny, but the pressure you put on yourself, right? The music sounds good, but you have this idea that you're playing too many D flats or something in your solo.
I just think of them as C sharps.
There you go. Yeah, try enharmonic pedal.
It pulls up instead of down.
There you go. Maybe that helps. I'll let her know. She's got 24 notes.
I just wanted to say hi. It's O'Mara. I'm here, but I can't get my camera to work.
I'm about to say, you look a little different. COVID's been rough.
It was on when we started, and now it decided to turn itself off.
No.
Yeah, it looks like your camera literally is off, but maybe there's do you have a separate camera?
No, I don't. I usually just cover it with Scotch tape, but I took the tape off for this occasion.
Yeah.
Like Mark Zuckerberg does.
It does look like it's one of those coverings, those physical coverings right now.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, here we are.
Zoom strikes again.
Yes, I was hoping for Frank Porowski. Is he going to make an appearance? No. Lee Green.
A bunch of guys got back to me, like you, Bob, and no, I mean the only people who had gigs was Ray. Ray said he was playing tonight, and
Mike Campini said he had a gig, but he was going to still try to take his phone out. I played with him like 3 days ago.
Oh, great!
Okay.
Yeah.
He said he might try to get on his phone.
And Tom Hubbard, the other bass player.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other bass player.
He said he might step in too. I literally did a trio gig with those two guys on Monday.
Oh, how nice.
Oh, great.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Alden also, I think, mentioned he might be checking in.
Yeah. Oh, Alden said he would get
good.
back. And Brian forwarded to all the trumpet players. So he said he was busy tonight, but he forwarded all the link to all the trumpet players, he said. And so did Sam.
I reached everybody. A couple of people said they'd be here. A couple of people didn't answer.
And I sent it to Louis Nash because he was playing a lot with Mike. And I kind of followed Dottie's lead. I invited some other people who are not part of the big band, but Paul West said he was going to step by. I talked to him last night.
Oh, sweet.
And who else? The Enrico and Christine from trumpets. They loved Mike very much, and so I invited them.
That club is non-existent now, or what's going
They
on?
sold the building. They sold the
They
building.
sold the whole building. Wow.
Yeah, in
Wow.
COVID, believe it or not. I mean, they were able to sell the club. They were hanging on for a year or something, and Christine is kind of. She knew her price she wanted, and I don't know if. Well, you all met her, I guess. She's. Powerful and Italian, and Enrico's like, sell it,
Right?
But she's like, no, we gotta get a certain amount for it. So, and they got it. I think they got close to it, whatever she had in mind. Having said that, they were both really happy when they sold the entire thing.
Hello, Cleve. Can you hear us?
He's not quite connected yet. Audio.
He's still connecting.
That's Cleve.
There you go.
Hello, Cleve.
Breaker.
Hey,
Cleve. Yo.
what's happening, guys?
Hey,
All right,
what's up,
man.
Cleve? All right, man.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
What's up, Christian?
Good to see you. Thanks for checking in and coming by.
Oh yeah. I just got finished teaching, so I'm 15 minutes late.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go in about 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh,
But I
wow.
just wanted to make sure you
Last
say
Friday.
hello. What's up, Cleve?
All right.
All
Hanging
right,
in
man.
Do you have a gig plans? You're playing tonight?
Going to check out Roy Hargrove big band.
Oh, wow. Where are they playing?
The Jazz Gallery.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah,
You're coming into Manhattan. That's great.
yeah.
Oh. Good.
Anybody talking about putting the band together, doing something with Mike's music?
Well,
Great idea.
Frank, I think you're talking to Dottie. I think I called Jimmy Owens, sent him an email, and I left a message last night. And as far as I know, he's in charge. Dottie is talking to him about, if it will happen. As far as I know, I don't know the latest, Frank, but I think if it will happen, Jimmy will put it together somehow, or Sam.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you in touch with her?
Yeah, I think she,
to some degree, but every time I talk to Dottie about it, she sounds kind of reticent still.
Yeah.
She just doesn't want to go through the grinder.
Yeah.
I think
she'd be happy for anybody to take the initiative, as long as she doesn't have to make any effort in that direction. I think that's really the deal. Which is totally fair.
That's been offered, and,
Yeah.
and basically said not yet.
Fair enough.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah.
Well, Christian's got those charts in great shape, and they're all ready to go. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know a bunch of those charts are going to end up with
You consider.
with Waldron.
Waldron Hicks?
Yeah.
Oh,
He has that school out in Queens, that arts school out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike said he wanted the charts to go to Waldron and his kids.
Oh.
Be played.
Okay.
But there's finale charts, and I mean
Won't
it's all up
they
there.
also
and ready.
going to the Lincoln Center Library?
I think the ones that are going to the library would be like the handwritten ones, because the rest of them are basically computer generated type charts. I think it's going to be the old stuff that's going to go to the library, and a lot of other things, I'm sure.
I don't see how those kids are gonna go play those charts.
Yeah, right.
Good luck.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Oof.
Well, that's Waldron has to work his magic,
Yeah, we hope so.
They'll probably have a lot more rehearsals than you guys would have.
Yeah.
Not only that, they'll have some records to listen to, recordings. Give them a hint anyway.
Yeah, some of those saxophone lines, I don't know how you guys read them. It's amazing.
Trust me,
He writes the same lines for trombones. We
Yeah.
can't play them. We just keep a straight face.
Yeah, I've never met a
Mike
high
and Phil
school.
Woods, both of them.
I never met a high school student that can play some of those Mike 16th notes that he has in there. Good luck.
Well, they're catching up with us.
Well, yeah, but
You know, I'm hearing more and more physically advanced players, younger
me
Like
too.
technically, you mean?
than I ever heard before.
Yeah.
I'm
I
working with a
agree.
jazz. I'm working with a jazz program that like middle school and high school kids, and they're playing Thad Jones
Yeah.
chart, and I couldn't play that when I was
No.
their age.
Wow.
Some of them Tad throwing charts I can't play today.
Ah.
That lead alto on Thad Jones is, man, that ain't no joke.
I got a news for you. They couldn't play him either.
Yeah.
Everybody kept a straight face.
I like that. Keep the straight face.
Yep.
Well, I really think this last 3 years of backing off have a lot of young players have felt like they have to find out what's happening in ways that they didn't feel before. You know, there wasn't nearly as much information online as there is now, because for 2 years, a lot of people who could really play didn't have shit to do except put some stuff online, or or say, well, listen. I mean, listen to the Sidney Bechet, please. Or Jack Teagarden or whoever.
Right.
So that history is like reaching people who, when we were 15,
Right.
Sidney who?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the New York Public Library recordings basically all on YouTube now, which is pretty impressive, right? I mean, probably even more, right? I used to go over to that library at Lincoln Center and spend an afternoon just listening to recordings you couldn't get anywhere else, and now you can YouTube it and you get 7 versions of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I wish they had YouTube when we were kids, because I'm gonna tell you, check this out. This is a true story. I couldn't get my light bulb out of my car. It blew out, the headlight. And I was like, man, I can't get this thing out for nothing. I looked at 2 short videos around 2 minutes long, and I got that light out and put the new one in with no problem.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, the information age today is ridiculous.
Yup.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of 12-year-olds telling you how to use your equipment.
That's right. It's funny.
Not only that, your high A flat started to play better too.
They call it also the University of YouTube.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, they really got something there with that YouTube.
Yeah.
I had years ago. There's a great music educator. I forgot his last name. Chris. Starts with a B. Mike met him too. His son is a bass player, and a couple of years ago, he was like 14. He said his son sits with a real book in front of YouTube, and he just goes through all the songs, and then eventually he learns the song and everything. But he was like, it's Chris Brouillard, Bruya, Brouillard, and I'm like, wow, man. I mean, what you said, Cleve, is like, if he had that in college, if he had a gig or need to learn a tune quick or whatever, it's like,
That's my number one concern with the young people. A lot of the people that I meet, young people, they have ridiculous technique. They could play technique like crazy, but they don't know any of the standards, the melodies, and nothing. So I thank God that that's there, because you usually go sit in somewhere and call like real standards, and they don't know the melody, but they can play all over the song.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they'll run into walls and bounce off and go learn the tunes,
Right.
the ones that are serious.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube makes it a lot easier to find this stuff, but the same effort needs to be taken. Sooner or later, the effort has to be taken. But yeah, and you also have probably for almost every tune out there that's ever been recorded, there's a -1 recordings now for almost everything.
On YouTube too?
Yeah, all over. Just type in, just Google search, I don't know, Lazy Bird, Coltrane backing tracks, and you'll find 4 versions of it.
YouTube.
And there'll be some really lame ones, like kind of iReal level kind of backing tracks, which will kill your playing. And there'll be some monsters playing, some really great players playing.
Yeah.
At every tempo, every groove, every meter.
My daughter just auditioned for Juilliard, and they sent out a list of list of songs with the YouTube links of
Right.
the versions they want them to listen to. Okay.
You know, it's great. The only thing is that's something I just dig in a little bit. The copyright issue and royalty issue still hasn't worked out. You know, it's still YouTube is still the biggest elephant in the room, because you have like Miles Davis Kind of Blue, 7 million or whatever, how many million views, and the YouTube, they got around it because they just put like licensed by YouTube or something there, you know, but it's really, and I know that because through the grapevine, and people still don't get the payout they're supposed to get, you know.
They're not going to. It's
not only that,
the money's too big.
Not only that, even for like if you do a record and it's played all over the place, and you get that, the money that you get back. I mean, you get it. I get a check for my last record for like 7 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell? Damn.
Oh no.
It's terrible.
Well, Mike used to complain about that all the time. He said you're not rewarded for content. You're rewarded for everything else out there. And if you're not rewarded for content, sooner or later people aren't going to be producing as much content.
Right.
Because you got to pay your bills.
The worst part of that is do you see how many times it played? Oh wow, it's been played all over the world. It's been played.
I'm famous. 7 cents. I'm famous.
Right, 7 cents. I'm famous. I'm like, what the hell?
How did you break the nickel level, Cleve? That's unfair.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Man, it's horrible. It's not even worth it to put all these streaming devices. It's not even worth it to put it on.
Yeah, but I talked, I don't know, I mean, when we were in Idaho, I talked to one of the drivers. Lance was in the car. I don't know if you heard the conversation, but there's a new technology out there I really believe in. It's called blockchain technology. It's a better version of metadata where all the information is on there. But, you know, I mean, I know some people are working on it, and it still has to be developed. So I don't know if the damage can be undone, you know, but there is there's some hope out there that this can be worked out in a different way, where, you know, it's just a long string of characters. Yeah, they've been working with that. Yeah.
They use that technology for Bitcoin, blockchain.
Yeah.
It can be used for anything. It's just the technology, you know. So in that, encryption can be your royalties, your bank account, whatever. I mean, you don't need publishers and record companies anymore. The money could go straight back to the artist, which is amazing. I'm very fascinated with that, you know. But I know there's a couple of platforms working. It's called NFT, and they've been working on that. And I just hope, you know, that there will be more of that going in that direction. But
well, we've been talking about this for years now. And they don't look like they're trying to help artists at all, because they just robbing them every day. Even in pop music, it was something online like Rihanna or something had like her song played like 5 million times and she got like $100 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, people are now so we have a whole generation now that are used to getting certain things for free. I don't think you're ever going to convince people who have been grown up with getting things for free to start paying for things.
Right.
It's a pretty tough sell. Although I will say, I never paid for TV as a kid, and now I pay for everything I watch. So who knows? Maybe there's a way to Netflix music. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, but that's I guess the good news is everybody here actually can play an instrument, and that doesn't seem to have gone away, right?
Oh no, that's
actually spreading.
Yeah,
it really is. I mean, when I first began traveling around the States, which is in the late 60s, early 70s, you'd go to, say, Indianapolis, and there'd be a good quartet or quintet there, basically.
Sure.
You know, and maybe in Chicago a little more, and in Denver a little more, but it wouldn't. But now I turn on Facebook and people are playing their asses off.
I agree.
In places that I would never have even thought of, particularly for me. My son moved from Ithaca to Fort Collins Colorado, and there's a Fort Collins, Denver, Boulder kind of nexus.
Connected.
Man, I'm hearing some playing coming out of that. People I never heard of.
That's nice to hear.
That 30 years ago would have walked into New York and been like, yeah, you know, and they're staying
Get
home.
them on the gig.
They're staying home. And
Well, yeah, it has become decentralized, hasn't it?
And they're making money at it. Not big money, but they're making money at it, and they're making their living teaching.
Right.
Everybody's doing that now.
Yeah.
Well, that was Mike.
Hey, guys, good to see you guys. Got to go.
See you. Thanks for checking in. Great to see you.
All right.
I know Mike
Bye,
talked about
Lance.
his early days of coming to New York. He said, you know, we came into New York, we used to do the $50 gig. Everybody got the $50 gig. And the good news is after a few gigs, you paid your rent. Because you guys are still doing $50 gigs. You can't even pay for your food.
Right.
No, right. That's right.
Yeah, he said 50. That shows, Frank, that you start earlier with Mike. When I was with Mike, he always said, well, you know, back then we would get $100 gigs and you still pay $100 gigs.
Shit, when I came to New
it
York,
shows you studied with him twice as long as I did.
That's right. Well, it's because I'm twice as slow or half as fast.
when I came to New York, and most of the stuff I was doing was Latin music in the South Bronx and the Lower East Side and places like that. It was $20 and $25.
Jeez.
And I was living like a king. I mean, considering the shithole I lived in.
Where's your crown, Sam?
Huh?
Where's your crown?
Yeah, well, like my hair, it just disappeared. Woke up, it was gone.
Yeah.
It happens.
I had a lot of conversation with Mike about that. You know, I mean, he was the great thing is for what I picked up on, he was still very positive about many things, although he always sometimes said it sucks, you know, but he would always get excited doing his new CD. And I remember we were, I don't know, Lee Green said he wanted to come by, but he got Mike onto the Orchestra, which is a digital platform owned by Sony. And so Mike, once he saw that his music was available for streaming and for free everywhere, I helped him communicate with the platform, and we took the entire catalog off the Orchestra. And so he went back to CD Baby, where you could upload the CD to iTunes and Amazon only for downloads and no streaming. And actually for a couple of years, he saw an increase in revenue and he liked it, you know, and he said, you know, he was very happy with that change, you know. In the meantime, the streaming platforms got bigger and bigger and bigger and got basically a little more corrupt. But, you know, for a couple of years, it actually really worked. And I did it for 1 or 2 releases myself. And anyway, so, I mean, you know, he was always trying to find a way to get the best out of the situation, you know. But anyway.
And that's a good way to characterize it. I think he always felt very positive. He felt he was always getting good feedback from younger people, that there was, you know, as Sam said, the music is out there. On the other hand, he, you know, had a lot of negative things to say. Like, I just talked to a professor at Berkeley, and I just talked to somebody a few weeks ago.
Oh, you did?
Okay, yeah, in their vocal department, they have 1,900 vocal students.
So Cleve and I were on a gig once, man. Do you remember that little gig with Chip?
Chip?
With Chip White?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that Berkeley band came on, and they all had
remember that,
degrees,
yes.
And we were trying to figure it out. Let me see, $50,000 a year for 5 years, and they can't play a major seventh.
Oh,
you know, I mean, really, it was like, holy shit.
You got to pay extra for that.
Yeah, well, they didn't have the money, obviously.
Triads for 50 grand.
We were trying to keep a straight face.
But check it out. Berkeley is no longer 50 grand. It's $75,000 a
year. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that was 8 years ago.
That's right.
Yeah. And they shrunk the jazz department. A lot of the great classes are not there anymore. You know, I was a couple of years ago, went up there and I talked to, Matter of fact, when we started the Lionel Hampton Big Band, we were actually advertising at the Berkeley Career Resource Center for a intern. You know, we thought we would get someone who could help, you know, sending out emails, getting more gigs and everything. And there was a young gentleman from China, and he applied, you know, sent us an email and everything. And I met with him twice, actually 3 times altogether. And he gave me a lowdown of, he was a jazz comp major. And he said, you know how we had all these different big bands. We had the Thad Jonesman Lewis Big Band, the Herb Pomeroy Big Band. We had, I think, Count Basie and another Reading Big Band and everything. He said,
remember that.
Yeah, it was all down to one big band. And Greg Hopkins was still doing the jazz comp. But he said a lot of the peripheral classes, he said, they're not there anymore. The major shrunk incredibly. And I did a little more digging, and it was something also internally decided, I think, because they wanted to appeal more to whatever's out there, you know. So a lot of the classes, you know, on one hand, they say no one asking for them, but on the other hand, you still have to offer them if you want to offer quality education, you know. Some of the classes, you know, they just kind of disappeared. And anyway, the jazz department shrunk quite a bit.
Wow, that's horrible.
And that was about 4 or 5 years ago, 2016, 17, when I was in touch with that young man several times. And that's when he, you know, because I was surprised. I thought, what about this and this and this and the combos and everything? So it's switched quite a bit, the atmosphere over there.
Oh,
and
yeah,
how many
it's
years
a
ago
multinational corporation now. You might as well go to work for Citibank.
Yeah.
Citibank's not making any jazz either.
Elon Musk.
Citibank, you don't get any major 7s either?
No. That dollar sign, that's their sharp.
That's it.
That's the problem. They should know some blues, you know. So that's the problem.
Yeah, if they knew the blues, they wouldn't be able to make that money. They'd get fired.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a multinational corporation. I mean, they got a campus in Dubai.
In Dubai?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. When did that happen?
Oh, I don't know.
I read about that too.
I think it was Dubai. It was one of those incredibly rich oil.
Dubai or Jersey, I forget.
No, not New Jersey. Not after Boston. But New York.
Oh, New York, they got the power station, right?
Yeah.
They got the power station. Yeah.
I went down and checked out their whole thing when it first started, and I just no.
Did I meet you there, Sam? Did I run into you?
I don't know. I was there for 2 things. I don't think I met you there.
Yeah.
I went a couple of times, and I felt like I was kind of at a multinational corporation.
Yeah, it's very different.
And that was it. I mean, when I went there, man, Alan Dawson, Herb.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the people who were teaching, John LaPorta.
Yeah.
Man, I know all of those guys. John LaPorta was one of my biggest influences, man. He was the one who told me, he said, when he first started working on Broadway, they said it was like a oboe part, and he couldn't play the oboe at all. And they offered him the job. And he got an oboe, and he learned the oboe just to make that job. And guess what? He made the job. John, I used to love John LaPorta, man. That old guy.
Oh yeah,
he was something else, man.
He was special.
Man, I learned a lot from him. Just and not just about music, about being a human being, and reality and what's expected of you, and to be on time and all kind of stuff. John LaPorta was something, man.
He turned around to me in the middle of a gig. I was subbing for Phil Wilson. There was a band. Alan Dawson was playing drums. It was like a bassy, kind of compacted bassy band. 1 trombone, 2 or 3 trumpets. Herb was playing, and John was sitting in front, and I was sitting in for Phil Wilson on this gig. And this is like the first year I'm there, and there were a lot of basic things in D flat. Now, at that point, I would have to count how many flats D flat, but so I could read it and all that, and there was a trombone solo, and I stood up and I took a trombone solo. It was at a good tempo, and I could always make tempos. And I sat down, and John turned around to me, man. He said, "Yeah, Sam, you sure play a lot of notes when you don't know what you're doing."
Oh,
Nice.
And that was the greatest lesson, I think, that I ever learned in one sentence.
Yeah, right.
I'm still working on it.
Yeah, right.
we all are.
Yeah, but I mean, that was like, oh shit.
That's funny.
Great, man. He was great.
John Laporta was great. Joe Viola too. I learned a lot from him too.
Yeah. No, there were so many there and so many great players, you know.
Yeah. When I went to school, there was like Hal Grossman was there. There was man, all of those guys are like really working musicians, but I don't know. The whole world is just changing, you know. Not for the better either.
I was
we'll see.
When I was with Mike, you know, he had his experience with Berkeley too, and hi, how you doing, Dave?
Hey, everybody.
How's everything?
Hey.
I had a little computer trouble, but here I am.
Great.
We've been complaining about computers for about 15 minutes now, so cool.
Didn't miss a thing.
Go ahead, Christian. What were you saying?
Well, so anyway, so we you know, Mike had his experience with Berkeley too. At some point, they were reaching out to him regarding his teaching material, and I don't know what the detailed story was, Frank. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, he always took full credit that he really showed me how to swing. Anyway,
he flirted with the idea of.
Huh?
He flirted with the idea of teaching at universities, but he just didn't want to play the game. You know, a university would contact him, some big ones. They'd contact him and say, "We'd like you to be faculty," and he thought that would be the end of it. Then they'd send him like a packet of like 60 pages of forms to fill out, and he goes, "Wait, you asked me to do the gig. I'm not going to do all this." I was like,
I went through the same thing with Indiana University. David Baker wanted me to be the professor of trombone there.
"Oh wow, that's where I went to school."
Yeah.
Yeah, David. Wow.
And I was in the Smithsonian Jazz Masterworks.
Oh my gosh.
The Dave, you know. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
I went out there and I did my little audition and there was a vote. You know, I think there were seven voters in the brass section that could vote on who was going to do it. Okay. And there was 4 older guys in tweed jackets with little leather patches on them, and 3 younger players. And of course, it was 4-3 against. You know, and they ended up getting a trombonist who was the second trombone player in the Seattle Symphony, good trombone player, who had no idea about what it's like to play a jazz trombone.
Yeah, and he wore a tweed also. Yeah. He wore a tweed also.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
That sounds so common.
Yeah.
That sounds so common. That example that you gave right there. You know, I mean, you can play the hell out of the instrument, but you don't know anything about voice leading or harmony.
Well, not only that, they can't play the instrument the way it needs to be played. They don't even know what the instrument is that needs to be played in a mainstream large ensemble.
I agree.
They don't know, you know. So they have these kids. They have these kids playing on slide tubas, trying to play up in the upper register, and it sounds like they're playing in a cave. But that's anyway. That's the university system.
Yeah,
it's getting better. It's getting better because more of us aren't working. The last 2 years. No, that's true, man. People are getting involved despite the union. Just the union. We won't get to there. Yeah. The universities not being exactly what they wanted, because I mean you got to make the rent. You know.
Yeah.
I have to say, I just came back from Idaho with Cleve and Lance. We played there with the Lionel Hampton Big Band. I did a workshop, and I did I had Mike come up to Sitka, Alaska a couple of years, I think 2016, 17, he came up. And we were teaching together for an entire week. And, so he kind of watched me how to teach the foundation of the 6/8. So I was doing this workshop 10 days ago in Idaho. And it was like 250 people in the room, and I was doing the 6/8. You know, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, and then the 4/4. And that was great. I tried to get all the kids going by the end of the hour that they can do all the 6/8 and the 3 different times. And two high school teachers came back to me the next day, and they said, "Oh, the kids, they were doing your drum thing and they were counting." And I'm like, wow, it's great. You know, the great thing about mic stuff, you know, you can what I learned teaching the 6/8 is you can teach it right away. And by the end of the workshop, I had like the entire room going with the 6/8 and counting out loud. I mean, that, you know, I have hope, you know, and one of the things I think, if we stick together as a community, I think Mike's just really got a great community together. If you just, and I talked to Frank about it, if we just stick together and keep teaching some of those foundations, I think, no matter if it's in a university, in a workshop or anything, I think that will be the way to go. Anyway,
I don't know.
Share that.
Yeah, I had a reaction for one of my students just this week, and I don't know who they're hiring to teach these things to kids, because check this out. My student told me, I said, you know, on the saxophone, you have many B flats, but the one that you almost never use is 1 and 1. And so the student told me, "Oh, my teacher said that's the main fingering for B flat." I was like, "Your teacher is absolutely wrong." The first B flat you learn is the side B flat, and then you use the bis key. Oh, he said, "Don't use the bis key." He said, "No, 1 and 1, that's the fingering." I said, I don't know. They just a lot of these teachers are horrible, and they don't have any experience themselves. A lot of them.
Well,
that is what's changed, right? We have now teachers who were trained to be teachers, not people who were professionals who became teachers.
That's right. That's absolutely.
But that's what I'm saying about what's happening because
that's the tweed crowd. Yeah,
because of the COVID.
Right.
Is that people who normally we'd all be working and whatever, you know, too busy to do this, do that. And instead, we're getting involved in that, and they're letting us. They're recognizing that there's something there, even if it's just getting more people to come into the school.
You know what I told them? I told the student, I said, "You tell your teacher that I said that he is wrong, and for him to call me." I said, "You don't teach one. I mean, if you're playing flute, I mean, I can see that, but not on the saxophone. You almost never use 1 and 1 or 1 and 3 on the right hand, or 1 or you never use those. This one, that one, and that one. Bis key or side. That's 90% of the time is the bis key, depending on what key you're on." And I was like, this student was like, "No, my teacher said no. You never don't use that. Use the 1 on 1." I was like, man, it's terrible.
Did he call you?
Not yet. I'm waiting.
Maybe Cleve should call him.
You gotta put that up on YouTube. If you two get together, be better than the MMA, whatever the hell it's called. Right. What would you think? Why would a teacher say stuff like that? I don't know anything about what you just said, but why was there a whole different school of something, or
no,
know what they're talking about?
Because just the easiest and most efficient way to play B flat on a saxophone is with the bis key. But there are times if you're going from a sharp to a flat, like A sharp or B flat to B, you have to use the side key. But 90% of the time, you're going to use the bis key. You know, and 1 and 1 is like one of those old fingerings when they didn't even have a bis key on the saxophone. You understand?
As much as I can, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know.
So the same thing holds true. The same thing holds true for trombone in university situations to a great degree. In order to play with any facility on the trombone, you have to be able to use extended positions, and
right.
they absolutely try not to use that. Not all of them, but maybe 75% of them.
I agree.
It has to be all in close here, because that's where you get the best sound.
Yeah.
You know, and these kids then sit down and try to play some of Mike's charts
and forget it.
They're unplayable if you can't get out to 4th and 5th position. It's just, you know.
I agree.
That's just how it happens.
And that's real world experience, because you experienced that all your life, because you will not be able to make those passes, especially if you're playing 1-on-1 B flat on the saxophone. You won't be able to play a scale fast with that. It's impossible.
I think the 5 of us ought to go out to Indiana University and take it over. That'll do it.
I think I still know a few people there, but David's long gone.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he was a dear man. He actually had a lot of respect for Mike. Speaking of Mike, he had a lot of respect for Mike. I mean, he was a bebopper to the bone. David, Mike had a lot of respect for David's writing. He was very specific about that. He said, the playing, I'm not so sure about that idea that you would take a book of patterns and somehow learn a bunch of patterns and somehow find your way to something musical. He said it'd be like, memorizing other people's conversations, a few sentences at a time, and thinking that you're going to be able to use them somewhere. But he did have respect for the fact that he was quite the Pied Piper for a lot of jazz musicians and set up some education.
And when you hear he didn't play that long before he kind of broke down with it. But if you hear his early playing, he was a hell of a trombone player, jazz trombone player.
Yeah,
I
never really got a chance to hear him that way. But the time I heard him, he was into the cello because of that injury that he had or whatever happened.
It was as much mental as it was physical.
Yeah, I wondered. I have no idea.
It was. I got to know him pretty well. He admitted it. But that's beside the point. If you listen to the early stuff that he did with
George Russell,
he was playing his butt off.
Oh, that's fantastic!
And there were no licks. There were no licks in it.
Yeah. I think he came up with a teaching methodology.
Yeah,
to kind of shorten.
He was fighting for his life at Indiana, and he was the first black cat to teach there. I think on any level.
Yeah.
He just did whatever he could to make sure that somebody came out sounding like they knew something.
Yeah, exactly. He was a real force that way. Yeah, no doubt about it. Mike's thing was obviously in a way just the opposite, but Mike wasn't in the marketplace in the same way that David was. So he had the luxury of teaching people how you're supposed to learn, which is, get some kind of rhythmic concept together, find some notes to put on it, and good luck. And it's hard to make a curriculum around that and get a degree in something like that, but that's actually closer to how this stuff really happens, right?
Exactly. Oh yeah, he learned a lot of that stuff from Dizzy though. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh
Diz and Oscar.
Diz, then Oscar before that, and before that hanging around with Cannonball before he was Cannonball.
Yeah.
That he was a high school gym teacher that hadn't become Cannonball yet, and his father's band, Longo's band, his father is a bass player, picked him up and played, got into some issues around that in the day that they used to live. But I think having that influence was actually obviously really huge. It connected him to all that Florida blues stuff that he used to love to talk about.
Yeah, Mike was 15 or 16 when he played with Cannonball. I mean, he was young.
It's crazy. You imagine having
father was a bass player. Matter of fact, Ben Brown has Mike's father's bass. So
is that where it ended up?
Ben Brown took it. And it was funny because Mike's dad had a really good bass. He had a K bass, which are they're very high in value. They're plywood basses. And then in his later years, someone talked him into it, and they traded into this blonde bass. But when Mike's father passed, Mike got the bass, and then we took it down to David Gage, and he set it all up, and that was the bass in this teaching room, and that bass came from his father. I was happy because I didn't have to bring my bass anymore. I had a bass there in Mike's room. It was really cool. But yeah, so he always told that story about Cannonball, and so Mike was like 15 or 16, when he was playing with him. It was amazing.
Yeah, I would have imagined.
That's a hell of a pedigree, right?
Oh my God. I was lucky to be able to go on tour with Nat Adderley one time. We did like all black colleges, and just some of the stories he told me, him and Cannonball, and just to have that legacy right there in front of you, talking to you every day like that.
Wow.
Yeah, those days were some great days, man.
Pre-YouTube, huh?
Pre-YouTube.
Yeah.
I didn't know people did anything before that.
Pre-music in some respects.
Yeah.
They weren't, you know, I mean, they weren't talking about music. They were talking about life.
Yeah.
I used to drive Joe Wilder down from New York to Washington for all of those Smithsonian gigs, and it was like the best jazz history set of lessons. I'm talking about 40 or 50 times. Two of us, or maybe three of us, sometimes in the car.
You
And
can't
he
buy
would
that.
start talking as soon as we got to Philadelphia, because that's where he came out. And he started talking about what went down in Philadelphia, you know, and what went down in this band and that band, and what happened in New York. It was amazing.
You can't hear those stories.
Somebody with that kind of roots, you know.
Yeah, you can't take that course at Berkeley. It doesn't work.
No. I'll never forget when Dizzy Gillespie went on tour with us with the Hampton band, like maybe 4 or 5 times. One time we did a tour from South California all the way up through the wine country, and Dizzy Gillespie sat right in back of me. Oh my, I could not believe some of the stuff that came out of his mouth. Like, I was like a little kid. I'm sitting there like, oh my God.
That's a riot.
You know, those days are gone.
All those Mike stories about Disney in a car, you know.
Well, let me tell you something. I have them all recorded. So I have hundreds of lessons recorded, and Mike telling all the stories. Some you could publish, and some of them you can't.
Some of them, yeah, you can't even say them out loud, right?
Oh yeah.
Some of the titles of the songs have like all these little meanings. You're like, oh yeah, this is when we this, and this is when we did this. And I was like, oh my God,
Well,
real
Mike,
shit. Yeah.
Mike was another carrier of that knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Direct.
Absolutely.
Direct.
Yeah,
Straight
quite
through.
direct. He said when he started playing with Diz, the older cats, because he was kind of like the newer generation at that point, the older cats said, man, keep asking him questions. He used to teach all of us years ago, but he won't do that anymore. You have to ask him questions. And that's kind of when he said he really developed this relationship.
Frank, do you know who that was? That was Ray Brown. They were playing in California. So Ray Brown saw Mike play with Dizzy. So after the gig, Ray Brown came to Mike. And he said,
I didn't know it was Ray.
Yeah, it was Ray Brown. Yeah, he told me the story every time. And he said exactly what you just said. He said, keep him, ask questions. He won't teach you the way that he taught us. Because you know this old picture, black and white, where Dizzy is young, playing the trumpet, Miles Davis in the big band, and Dexter Gordon, and I think James Moody, and all those guys. They're all, and Ray Brown playing bass. Mike had it in the teaching room. That's an old picture. That's where Dizzy would teach the guys, like verbally. It's like, this is how you play this music. Later on, he wouldn't do that anymore. And that's when Ray came up to Mike, and he said, Mike said, I mean, the way he related the story, and you know, Mike, when he had a good story, you would hear it several times. But it's like Ray came up and he pulled my coattail, or pulled my,
pull my coattail,
pulled my coattail, and he said, ask him questions. And that's when Mike got the whole idea to and the other story is that he went up to him, he saw Dizzy play the conga drum. And remember, did he tell you the story? He went up to Dizzy and said, show me what you're doing on the drum. And then Dizzy showed him, he didn't say anything, he just showed him that pattern.
Patterns, yeah.
And then Mike went on his own, and he ordered these when we went through the teaching stuff, he had those books out of African rhythms, and that's when he started to get that whole African thing.
Well, he said he went down to the basement of Dizzy's basement. Dizzy had an 8-track tape with him, 8 tracks full of Dizzy playing all this rhythmic stuff. And the first question, of course, he asks, you know what the question is, right?
Yeah.
First question he asks Mike is, where's 1? Which is, the never-ending musician question, right? Where's 1? And he said, Mike said, here. And Dizzy goes, what if you hear it there? He said, all of a sudden his ears, he said, my ears opened up. It never was the same after that.
Didn't he say his head turned upside down? Or was it another story?
I'm sure that's plenty of those kind of stories. Yeah. I'm sure there's plenty of those. He loved to tell the stories. I think he was, you know, I love that. I'm sure everybody here in this room is the same way, but I love the fact that Mike was such a student, you know, obviously he was a player and a writer and a teacher and everything else, but he was such a student and he was proud of his teachers and he was proud of the legacy and he was proud of the music and the genre. I mean, it was, and he had that whole spiritual aspect to him, the kind of coming together of the races, the coming together of the music, the coming together. I mean, all of that. I think he was. It was very.
That's what America is supposed to be, but it failed.
Yeah. Well, it keeps trying though. You got to give it. You got to give it that. At least it keeps trying. Some of us anyway.
Keeps trying,
it's a process.
Ain't over yet.
But Frank, how many times did you walk into Mike's pad and how many times did you walk in his room and Mike said, I found some new shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Check
Usually
this out.
he'd come back down to the hospital and said, man, you listen to that heart machine and you hear that thing is. He goes, yeah, man, that's the shit right there. And then all of a sudden I realized what Dizzy told me 48 years ago. All of a sudden it's starting to make sense to me.
Really?
He was like, Mike was like a musical archaeologist. He was always, you know, because he had touched the real stuff playing with Diz and all those things. But and playing with him, he said in the beginning he could kind of play alongside him, and after a while he actually could play with him. But you know, he was always trying to unlock the mystery of what was making that music the way that music is, you know. And so he was always trying to figure that out, and from the strangest places, like the hospital, which became kind of his practice room in the last few years. You know, just lying on your back. What else are you going to do but think about, you know, rhythm and such? But he would come back and say, and then you know, he would write like a little two bar passage and say, now play that. That'll get you to what I was, you know, kind of, you know, wigging out when I was laying there. Like he was kind of good at figuring out a little passage that would kind of get you in the flow that he felt was part of the flow that was the Diz flow.
I remember doing like a lot of our rehearsals when we would be playing some of his shots. He was like, no, that's not. It's this. No, you don't hear it. You know, no, not there. It's over here.
Yeah,
so
Yeah, exactly. There's a video I saw online somewhere, speaking of YouTube, where Dizzy's teaching some players in a big band.
In Norway. That's in Norway.
Is it? He was standing in front of he was sitting in front of the musicians, and he was doing what I thought was a Mike thing, but it turns out Mike must have got it from Dizzy, where he was like seeing that their feet were all over the place. You know, and he used the feet like, you know, a person would use, like trying to figure out what a dog is thinking by the way if they're wagging their tail or if they're not wagging their tail. You know, if they're wagging your tail, you're going to be okay. If they're not wagging your tail, you better start running. And with the musicians, he would see their feet all over the place, and he goes, "Yeah, you're playing all the right notes, but it's all, you know, you're obviously feeling it wrong because your feet are an indication of something that's off, you know, like internally.
You're playing all the right notes, but they're in the wrong places."
There you go.
Yeah.
You're playing the tweed places.
Yeah.
The tweed, yeah. Yeah.
It's good seeing everybody. I'm going to run along. Scott Reeves is playing 6 blocks away, so I want to go catch him.
Yeah,
nice to see everybody. I'm sorry I didn't get here earlier.
Yeah, that's fine.
Good to see you.
Have a good night.
Say hello to anybody I might know there.
Sure will, Sam.
Yeah, things picking up again. People having gigs and going.
Yes.
Oh, thank God! Yes, I'm actually going to Europe next month. I can't believe it.
Where are you going with Abdullah?
I'm going to. No, I'm not going with. I'm going with Michael Veal, a bass player, and I just started playing in his band, and I didn't even remember him from Berkeley. Like, he went to school at Berkeley. He's a bass player.
Wow.
What's his name?
Michael Veal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so I'm going next month with him, and then Abdullah. With Abdullah. He just called me yesterday. He said we got a week at the Blue Note in New York. That's unheard of. They don't.
Wow.
That's some A-list stuff right there.
Yeah, we have a week at and then at Blue Note in New York, and then we go right to Detroit for the Detroit Jazz Festival, and then we go to Switzerland. So I was like, oh, hell yeah, thank God, because, man, I'm going to tell you, I've been surviving on this teaching. Thank God I got it, but, man, these last 2 years have been, I can't even count the money I lost.
Yes, they have.
You stretched those 7 cents for 2 years?
If you know how to shoplift.
That's rice and that's a meal of rice and bean.
That's right. That's right.
Only jazz musicians can do that.
Rice and beans.
And laugh at that.
And laugh at that. That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
almost take a little bit of pride in that, right?
Yeah, it's been like these last 2 years, man. I don't know, man. I can't wait to get out. I just want to get out of my house. You know?
That's funny.
Thank God. I hope things really bounce back. I mean, I really hope they do for all of us.
Yeah.
You know, because all of us are out there like playing music, and then you just absolutely one day just take all of that away. That's horrible, man.
Yeah. Well, it's coming back. You know, I'm having my eyes on visiting my mother again and everything. So in Germany, they drop everything, I think, March 14th. And so I'm looking forward to I haven't seen my mother in like 2 years. So
oh yeah, it's time.
I'm looking forward.
How did your mom? I remember the last time I saw your mom. You didn't even tell me that was your mom.
I know. I told Lance the story. You were playing in my hometown. She was sitting front row. She saw you.
I didn't even know. Man, that's messed up.
I know. You know, my dream is always, Mike's big band or the Lionel Hampton big band, any of these great big bands going to Germany. I mean, that would be just great for many reasons. You know, not only for the band, but it would be great for the people. But it would be just great for me to have that experience, to have just playing with a great big band. And
well, you know that every year, you remember every year we used to go to Germany, like just a German tour alone for like 4 to 6 weeks every single year. I remember that. And we used to bus on the bus, drive 500 miles. One night I'd do that. Go. Yeah, I'm too old to do that now. I can't do that now.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine, man.
Man, that's hard. You know that's hard work.
When I was doing that kind of thing, I ran into Dizzy's. I think it was the Mingus Epitaph, that big 33-piece band. We had been on the road just like that, across the Alps, back across the Alps. You know?
That's right, every night.
And we were in an Italian airport. I forget what it was. And Dizzy's band was there, and Diz was sitting in his robes with a staff, right, and some kind of hat. Surrounded by all these musicians, and
I can see that.
And he was in his 70s by that time, I think, or late 60s at least. And somebody asked him, "Well, Diz, man, we're all traveling and we're all dragging our asses, and you look like you're at the top of your game. How do you do it?" And Diz said, "Eat when you're hungry and sleep when you're sleepy."
There you go. There you go. Life on the road, one chapter.
Hey, I never told you that story. It's a true story. When I was 13, we had a jazz series in my hometown, and my father got these tickets. So the same year I saw Dizzy and I saw Lionel Hampton. So my father went with me to see Lionel Hampton. And the second concert was Dizzy. And he couldn't make it, so my brother went with me to see Dizzy. And so we were watching Dizzy play. He was playing a sextet or a small band. And then my brother said, "Let's go backstage." You know, I was nervous. I remember going up the stage. So we saw Dizzy in his dressing room. And we were looking at the trumpet case. And I don't know, I guess I must have spoken English or spoke English or my brother translated to me. But he said, "Everything I need in life is in this case." You know, then he pointed on the trumpet. Then there was some cash. And then there was and then there was a flask. There was a flask.
He didn't point out the
and a passport. That's it. You know.
Passport. There was no other stash in it. Come on.
There must have been something in it.
I agree.
Oh, there was a silver flask in there. You know, like for the whiskey.
But, you know,
something in baggies.
Because I remember when I went on tour, we went on tour with Lionel Hampton 4 times. Dizzy always had a big bag of marijuana. Even when he was in the hospital, he was smoking marijuana in the hospital.
Yeah, those guys they were hardcore that way. Mike was that way.
What was that story about? Dizzy had marijuana in like a camera.
Oh, that was.
What was that? In camera film case, and he's going through. Does anybody know what that story is?
I've heard that story vaguely. I remember it vaguely, but I don't remember the whole thing.
That was in Sweden. You gotta mute your mic.
You know the story about Louis
That was in
Armstrong?
Sweden. So they were coming and playing in Malmö or Stockholm, and they were going through the border, and Dizzy had the like the film roll, like for the camera. In that film roll, he had something to smoke in there. So anyway, so he went through customs, and the custom guy, he's like, Mr. Gillespie. So he took it and opened up. He's like, Mr. Gillespie, what is this? He's like, Dizzy was like, oh, I don't know. This guy gave it to me, I don't know what that is. And he's like, Mr. Gillespie, that is some, marijuana. He's like, oh, really? Anyway, so they went to customs. So the guy kept that roll. And then, when Dizzy was going through customs, he went back to the same guy and it's like, do you mind? Can I have this? Can I have this bag?
I know Dizzy used to smoke.
I mean, Mike was much better in telling the story.
You know the story about Louis Armstrong and Nixon?
No.
They were on the same plane.
Oh, I think I remember.
And they landed somewhere, and it was not in the United States. And they were going to have to go through customs. And Pops asked Nixon if he'd please carry his bag. He had too much to carry. And Nixon brought his marijuana through customs.
Wow.
That's a great idea. I wish he got caught.
Story?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And it's kind of poetic. Guys, I have to run. I'm sorry. I love talking to you guys. This is awesome.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks for coming.
I know that Dizzy used to smoke marijuana on their plane like nothing, like just on a regular flight. He would just light up a joint.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike has a great story. I think they were in the plane, and then Dizzy was lighting this pipe, and then there was a little speck of smoke, but then, I think Mike was sitting across the aisle or someone else, But so he covered the pipe and he gave it to the other guy while it was like smoking,
That Dizzy was something else, man. Just to work with him, though, that little time that I did, man, I'm going to tell you one thing about Dizzy Gillespie. I've never heard anybody still to this day play the harmony. He used to play in front of me every single night with Lionel Hampton's band. His harmony was so big. His ears was like unbelievable. His harmony and his rhythm, that really impressed me. And nobody plays the trumpet like that with the harmony or that rhythm these days.
No, that's what Mike also said, Cleve. He said,
yeah, that's the truth. I saw it for right in front of me every night.
I'm not sure anybody ever did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be Louis Armstrong in his prime, to some degree.
Not like Dizzy though. No,
well, he couldn't play a wrong note, man.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. But Dizzy had like a harmonic it was a real
it was more advanced.
Yeah, upper harmony, all the upper harmonies, 9s, 11s, and the way I'd be like, how is he gonna get out of this one, man? Dizzy was unbelievable.
I know.
Yeah.
And he would make it to the tonic every time.
Yeah. Well, Mike has this great story. So, Dizzy always came to him and said, I know it's coming. So Mike was kind of sometimes struggling. And he always encouraged Mike to keep going. And I think he already left Dizzy's band, but there's this famous picture. I don't know if you saw it, Sam or Cleve, in his teaching room. It was in a newspaper. So Dizzy comes from behind and gives him this big hug while Mike was playing piano somewhere on a jazz festival. So Mike has this picture and kind of, I think, laminated it, or maybe we did. And he's like, that's when Dizzy knew that Mike got it, what was happening. So he came on that concert and he gave him this big hug from behind, and that's what he heard in Mike's playing, what he was doing, and that's when Mike said Dizzy realized that he got it.
Right.
Mike said to me that Dizzy told him, "You don't need anybody."
You don't need anybody.
You don't need anybody. He said, "You got your own thing right now."
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't need anybody.
Right.
You can do it.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's a big compliment coming from Dizzy Gillespie.
Yeah.
And then when the feng shui lady came and cleaned his house and took the picture and hid it, Mike went fucking wild.
No, that was a piano, but we found it. It was James Moody gave him a little glass piano, and and then we found it. Like 2 years later, it was like hidden in a little bucket in the medicine cabinet. Yeah.
Mike went wild. He was like feng shui bitch. He was so upset. He was so fucking pissed at her.
Mike said, "Feng shui, throw your shit away."
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's a different era. Guess what? The kids today, they're not going to see none of that. You know what I mean? They're not going to see, Dizzy Gillespie and Elvin Jones and Hank Jones. They're not going to see Freddie Hubbard and Woody Shaw and hang out with them and, shoot the mess with them. That is even today. I mean, I remember when I was a young man, I used to go out and hear music. I used to go hear Art Blakey and Art Taylor and the Messengers, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah, but that's like gone. You can't hear that no more.
It's not gone. You're still here.
Where?
You.
Yeah, not like that.
No, I'm serious, man.
But not like that, though.
Well, who know? You know what I'm saying, though.
I know what you're saying.
Sabaton, are you the horn player that played on Proclamation?
Proclamation.
Me?
Yeah. What do you play?
Alto. Oh, Andy, this is Cleve Guyton. He played the first alto.
No, is he? He must be. He's talking to Sam.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is Sam Burtis.
Sam Burtis.
Also known as Sabutin.
I was the dude when you played Proclamation with Mike that was going, "Wah!"
I was probably too busy trying to make the notes to notice.
Wow, that was a great show.
Yeah. Playing with Mike was a great lesson.
The Proclamation, you talk about the funk band, Andy. That was
Proclamation on YouTube. Yeah. That was done at the Baha'i Center.
Yeah. Who was in the horn section? Remember?
It's on YouTube.
Yeah. We already had our YouTube discussion.
Everything is on YouTube. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it 2 because I've had a long day. I taught from 2 to 7 straight through, and then I came home, I ate a little bit, and I jumped right on here. So I gotta just take a rest right now. But great talking to everybody. And
thanks, Cleve. Great. Thanks for coming.
Bye, Cleve.
Good seeing you.
See you somewhere good, Cleve.
We gotta keep
somewhere good.
Yeah, we gotta keep this thing going on because what else we gonna do?
Well, that was the next question. I've since you're going, but I wanted to ask Sam. And I mean, we got to take it to the. We got to keep it going. So
yeah.
And one of the things, what you were saying, the Woody Shaw and Dizzy Gillespie, it's like, there's what you were saying earlier. I mean, a lot of the young players can play, but how do we get back to getting these personalities? That's a whole different approach. Yeah, like what Andy said to what Andy just mentioned, Dizzy saying to Mike, you don't need anyone, you got your own thing going. So, having all these young, great players, but how do we get back into, how do you get back into someone that you produce someone with their own sound, you know.
Well,
so.
you just keep on going, and some people get there and some people don't. Have you recently heard what Joe Locke is doing?
Joe Locke, the vibes player? No.
Yeah. Lord Almighty. He's right on that level.
Wow. Well, I know from
just for starters, I just heard him recently.
What's his name?
Joe Locke.
Locke. He's a great vibes player.
Yeah.
And he is burning.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I mean,
on that level.
Right.
You know, I heard about 6 bars and I thought to myself, shit, it's Bird.
Well, who's that? The tenor player that we just saw last week. I mean, it's Christian.
Chris Potter.
Oh my God. It's like the saxophone is a new instrument. It's not the same saxophone anymore.
Yeah.
Chris Potter is like, he's from another planet, man. That cat.
Yeah, he can play. And there's no shortage of players.
Yeah, it's like another whole planet. It's not even a saxophone, it's a new saxophone.
And with YouTube, as bad as the financial thing is, if you pay attention to the right people in YouTube, they'll lead you places where you wouldn't think you would go.
Right.
I'm listening to a lot of tribal African music.
Uh-huh.
Just unbelievable, just for starters.
Well, check this out.
Huh?
What
I'm
kind
gonna tell you
of
a story. It's gonna take 2 seconds. About 5 years ago, Abdullah took me, Maria, and the band, and we went into the bush. And we saw 20 tribes, and the women were dancing up there.
Yeah.
They were butt naked with grass skirts on. And man, some of the shit that I heard, I was like, oh my God. Western music and rhythm has nothing on them Africans. They had some shit. I was trying to write this shit down. I was trying to damn, where the hell is one?
Talking about where's one?
Yeah, man. And the music, and they were in they were butt naked. They didn't have nothing on their breasts, and they had these grass skirts on. It was unbelievable, man. I never saw nothing like that in my life.
If you send me your email, I got some shit that's so fucking deep from the bush, it blow your fucking mind out. But I don't know how to share it with you.
Okay, it's just email.
I need an email address.
Yeah,
Okay.
Andy, I can send you Clee's email address.
Yeah,
I can
send it.
send it.
Yeah.
I got yours.
All right, I got some shit that's way there.
Yeah, there's a great clip of Louis Armstrong going to Africa, and he's playing jazz, and then the people he's visiting, they're dancing for him. It's unbelievable. I mean, to the rhythm, and then he starts dancing with that lady. I mean, it's just like the groove and the drum.
Are you guys on Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just go to my homepage and scroll down. Every third or fourth or fifth one is going to be something interesting from that general area.
Well, I saw that from my own eyes. I was like, oh my God. I said Western music and Western rhythm, we don't have nothing on it. This is you can't even hardly hear what's going on. It's so much, and it's so swinging in an African kind of way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And that's what Dizzy honed in on, some of that.
Well, half of my career was playing Latin music in New York with Tito Puente and cats like that. And that's the same thing.
That's the same thing.
When I first walked in, it was like, where's one?
Yeah.
And then, and then literally, man, actually, it happened in Boston, but that's beside the point.
All right, John G.
I came in on a gig. You know who Mark Levine was?
Mark Levine.
Mark was a great pianist who also was a good valve trombone player. And he was playing with this great Latin band in Boston when I was going to Berkeley. And he sent me in for 2 weeks as a sub. And I had never heard the music before, really, not really.
Lord.
And I got up on that stand. I'd always been able to read and play whatever it was that I had to play. And they had music, and it was good players, a whole bunch of good players in the band. And they started the thing up, and the bass player, boom, ding, ding, bong, boom, bing, bing, bong. And I'm like, wait a minute, where's one? And it took me the whole first set to find one, I swear to God. Just find a couple of the cats took me aside and said, do you know about clave? And I said, eh? You know,
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I agree. And I have videos of all of this. I took pictures, videos, all kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. Yeah. That was life. It was, for me, that was a life-changing experience. I had never seen nothing like that. A kid born in Harlem and raised on Long Island. I was like, when he took me, he took my wife with me. He took Maria and he took Keith Loftus and he took his wife. We went out into the bush. We spent out all day and it was 20 tribes and they all performed. It was unbelievable. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to call it because I've been running all day.
All right.
All the best for you. I hope to see
by.
all of you guys very soon, okay?
All right.
Bye, Cleve.
Bye-bye. Be good now.
Later, Cleve.
Bye-bye.
All righty.
Well,
yeah, that's great. I mean,
maybe it's.
Go ahead.
Up to us now.
Say what?
Maybe it's up to us.
Oh, Andy left.
Not just you and I or whoever else is here.
Oh, Mara's here. Yeah, our camera's not working.
But no, I mean us in general to get this shit out there.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
not just Mike's shit, but just the tradition.
Yeah, yeah.
Back as far as we can. I've been doing it on Facebook as much as I can.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm not that much on Facebook anymore, but I mean, it's great. I mean, if you find your platform, there's so many different platforms now. It's just so time consuming. But yeah, I mean, you know, I want to, you know, holding in mind that we get keep the community up. You know, I thought Mike created a great community of great players and people around him. And it would be just nice to keep it going. I mean, I like the way how Mike always talked about Dizzy. I mean, you always knew Mike is missing Dizzy, but I mean, it was always very affectionate and it was very positive. And it was, you know, whenever Mike had a Dizzy story, you're like, he wanted to know more. What else? What else happened? You know, it's kind of like, it's just great to have that spirit and that vibe. And, you know, I mean, we're coming out of the pandemic, so I think it will happen. You know, I'm working on, I don't know if I told you, Sam, but I'm on my own now in Sitka I'm trying to put my own summer workshop together. And somehow, I mean, 10 days ago was a big one for me where I taught Mike stuff. I haven't really taught it since the beginning of the pandemic, and the feedback was just amazing. I mean, Kips came to me and was like, is this right? And they did the drum thing and everything. I mean, obviously not every of these students had a drum, and the adults too. I just showed to them on their thighs, you know, where they can just do the drumming thing and everything. I think it's essential to keep it going, and getting the band back together would be really important. So I don't know. I mean, I'm ready. You know, I don't know how the structure goes, you know, but I called Jimmy, and I know Dottie is speaking to him and speaking to you. You know, I think.
Well, Dottie knows that I'm up for anything that happens. You know?
Yeah.
I'm still not able to play trombone.
How's your face?
It's better than it was, but I'm still not to the point where I can really play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's about 3/4 better.
Mm-hmm.
But that other quarter is like. I'm working on it. This musculature right here has to be built up.
I couldn't believe you got it back. It's unbelievable. You've just been through the second time.
Yeah.
Got to go through this. It's amazing.
Well, it's becoming clear to a lot of people that Bell's palsy is a side effect of the vaccines and COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Very common. It's much more common than it was before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Like 100 times more common.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to get it.
Yeah. But it seems like you're recovering a little faster than the first time. Is that right, or is it just?
Well, the first time was much faster.
Much faster. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was back playing 6 months later.
Oh wow.
I got this in August.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heavier infection, and also it's on the wrong side.
On the wrong side.
When it first came in, I could hold it together with my thumb and still.
That's right. Oh, it's the other side now.
It's the other side now.
Oh
and
wow.
I can't hold that together and play. I'm actually practicing on a euphonium instead of trombone, so that I can hold it with my hand. But it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
It'll either be better in August or it won't. If it isn't, I won't play anymore. That's simple.
Wow. Well, we have a prayer group, so we're going to put you on there. We started a prayer group on Sundays since May of 2020, and it's we had some amazing results. So definitely going to put you on there. Have a lady.
Make sure they all know it's supposed to be on the right side, or else my left side will be like.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, we make sure the right side. Got it. Yeah, right side. Yeah. Who are you in touch with from the trombone players? Are you in touch with?
I was in touch with everybody that I could think of. Off my list. I emailed everybody. I got a few answers, and a whole lot of not answers.
Yeah.
I think there were 25 people that I sent.
Yeah. I just make it. Since nothing happened in between, I just keep it going. See where it takes us. I'm in touch with Lee Green and Frank. We do a lot of talking. We talk about Mike quite a bit. And Lee, I'm checking in every now and then. He's checking in with me every now and then, and just say where we take.
Well, if anything happens before I'm able to play, I'll still be as involved as I possibly can as a music director at the rehearsals, at the very least.
Of course.
That would free our friend up to play trumpet.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Jimmy. Yeah. Cool.
That's about it.
Damn. Well, good to see you. And so you have been to Sitka. So anyway, so that's my plan. I doing something there.
Sitka and Vancouver are my two places that I most enjoyed on Earth.
I know.
Except for maybe Denmark, which I also love dearly.
Yeah.
And I haven't been to Ireland yet, which is where my people are from. So maybe there too. But no, I love that. I love that island. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I brought you to Sitka and I brought you to Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
With Carmela, I've been thinking about it. I saw you when we took the ferry. You were just really enjoying the view. When we leaving the ferry and looking at all the mountains and everything.
Well, I grew up on the sea. We had boats, and I from the time I was 3 until I was going to college, I spent the entire summer basically on a boat fishing. It's bringing me home. Were you on the little trip where we saw the whale?
No. In Sitka, no, I didn't go on the boat trip. Yeah.
I will never forget it.
Yeah.
We hit a run there where it was like hundreds of eagles and hundreds of seagulls and hens and 15s of whales and seals. There was some kind of fish run going on, and it was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. Like being dropped into the jungle in Africa and seeing lions and elephants and tigers and whatever, except they weren't going to bite us.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I remember going fishing with Mike. I remember before we went in the summer. He always loved to go fishing. He had all kinds of fish finders in the apartment. He had this one with a camera and the other one with a what was it? German is called Ultraschall. I mean, with a frequency you could detect fish movements.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we were going to New Jersey, and would get into a boat. He had a little outboard with a battery, and we would go in there and go fishing. anyway, it just reminds me of that. And I brought Mike to Sitka too, and he talked about. It was very interesting when we went to Sitka. I always thought to get one of the guys to get him fishing, but those kids from Canada, they were amazing. And I remember this piano player was really catching on to some of the stuff Mike was teaching. And by the second day, the energy was so great. You couldn't get Mike out of the teaching room. He just loved being with these young students, and they loved to be with him. They were huddling around him, and they wanted to hear all the Dizzy stories and everything. It was funny. By the second day,
just like us.
Just like us. That's right. Yeah, by the second day, I didn't even think about taking him fishing anymore. And he didn't want to go. I mean, it was just like, and the most encouraging thing, he said, "Oh, well, you've been up there, and you said that too. But for him to hear, it's like, man, you're doing a good thing with the students. This is great. That's the first time I really got some really great encouragement to keep going, So, I don't know.
You still have that little island?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Are you living on it?
Well, I have to tell you that I spent 6 weeks on the island every night last fall for the first time. And I had I don't know if I didn't bring you over there, unfortunately. I have a Quonset hut, and I put up a bed, and I have this treehouse with a cover, and I slept up on the treehouse, and then I cleaned out the Quonset hut because over the years so much stuff accumulated. So I cleaned that out, and I moved back down. And the neighbors got together. That was my big accomplishment for 2021. We got finally a dock, like a 80 by 20 dock, where everyone can dock their boat and their skiff and everything.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I finally kind of moved in. So it's pretty awesome. I still, I have this really grandiose structure, and had a storm damage, and still fixing things and gonna rebuild. Have to put in some support, and once I get that done, I actually can put a cabin on top of that. So
Great.
yeah, I still have it, and I'm happily over there, and I'm going back there. And so now we put the dock in place, and there were some obstacles. Some of the other neighbors passed away who started it, and so now we have it all together. Now we started a dock association, and it's the only way for us to get insurance. So now we are having a dock association, and that all happened within a year. It's amazing. I'm like, the thing about the lockdown and the pandemic, it's like a week seems like a month, or a day seems like a week. I mean, it's like your whole sense of time is kind of thrown off. But we did it all, and now I'm going up in April again for 2 weeks, and we have to do some fixing on what we put in place, and then we can get the insurance. And I think then, we have to maintain it, and you have to pay kind of association fee and usage fee, but we're able to keep going and keep on moving forward. But the most important thing is for us to get the insurance. So that's what we are going to
get the
accomplish.
insurance
Yeah.
for water damage.
Well, for all kinds of damage, you don't get an insurance as an entity. So we had to be this entity in order to get insurance, and now we can get insurance. I called a couple of insurance companies, and if you have 9 different owners, they said we cannot go around and insure everyone single person. We have to be an association.
Well, whatever works.
Yeah, Mike liked it up there. I remember, he had a really good time in Alaska,
Yeah, I'll bet he
so
did.
did you,
But it was a lovely place.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go take care of
Okay,
it.
sounds great. All right. Well, thanks. And I don't know, I'm gonna post the meeting on our YouTube channel we started for this. So anyway, I stay in touch. Thanks for coming.
All right.
And it was great to see you and everyone else.
Yes.
Okay.
Ditto.
Say bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.